Okay, welcome back. Yes, that is what we'll be focusing on this morning. We've got Mr. Yabagdi signing here with us. He is the National Chairman, Inter-Party Advisory Council, also National Chairman of ADP. That's Action Democratic Party.
That's right.
Okay. You were in Liberia as well.
That's just somebody.
You were there to observe what was going on. So I know there were several lessons learned about some of these things, but just tell us, how was your experience in Liberia?
Well, the experience was refreshing in the sense that you see a country that has put in place an organized, process that the citizens keyed into. Because what we observed is that there was a lot of excitement on the side of citizens. And
to go and vote?
To go and vote. And even on the day of election, the turnout from what we observed, we asked that, is it all the time that will come out like this? They say, no, this election, was the one that they had about, this kind of large turnout, particularly the youth and women. So that is instructive in the sense that Liberia, having gone through what they went through, in 2003 when the civil war, ended, had come to terms with the fact that they have to take their destiny into their hands, and it is only through democracy that they believe they can be able to survive the experience that they had. So, and the youth were very committed, because even our driver, the one that took us around, was so excited about the exercise and had a very, very clear, vision and understanding of what is at stake.
What was the distinctive difference in terms of what you saw with the electorate, youth, which you spoke about now, and us when we did ours here?
Yeah, you see, there are a lot of things that played out in our own case.
In terms of the youth now?
The youth, yes, even the youth. We had a fragmented, electorate, in the sense that people were not really voting for Nigeria, as the case was. They were voting for...
What do you mean?
No, they were voting for my person, who is from my region and who is our turn. So, it wasn't... They weren't voting. That's why you had the kind of situation that we had. I'm talking about those sentiments that is so deep in our psyche, political thinking in this country. People think of your ethnicity, your religion and region first before you think about Nigeria. And that is why we have the kind of problems we are having. But in the experience I don't know, the Civil War had, I think it brought the people together, and they now focused on Liberia. How do we get this country out of doldrum? How do we move it forward? And that's why I'm saying, you see, that's why even the man who is there now, George Weah, you can see the results. The opposition had also 0.05, I think for 3.65, and that's what George Weah get. And then the man who was opposition, even though old, the man is pushing 80, now,
Joseph Walker.
Joseph Walker, yes,
So they didn't care?
Eh?
The people didn't care. They just wanted to vote for whoever they wanted.
They wanted to change, really. Believe you me, they wanted to change because they were not satisfied with what the present government was doing in terms of development, how it impacted them. So, and I saw that in our interviews, with the youth in particular, the youth brought George Weah to power, but for some reasons, they didn't like what he did. And that's why you had that very tight, neck-to-neck kind of, in fact, the runoff, we don't know what's going to happen. It's very tight, the tightest, elections that they ever had.
As a politician
in Liberia,
I haven't seen our system, what we do, how you participate. I'm sure you would have interacted with other politicians there as well. what were the key lessons that you got from that?
Well, the key lessons, like I said, the people were nationalistic. Yes.
The politicians themselves.
Yes, yes. The key lessons for us in this country. And that is why, you know, in IPAC, we have deliberately embarked on some programs that will showcase democracy to the people of this country. That it's not about where you are from or the region or something. No, it's about delivery of that dividends of democracy. You know, that's why, I don't know if you know, we're having peer review mechanism. We want to compare what each, you know, especially at the level of the subnationals, that is the state governors. We're also coming up with centenary celebration. You know, democracy, political party evolution is 100 years, 2003. And we believe that Nigerians, for one reason or another, are getting more and more disconnected with democracy itself. They are losing interest in democracy because they are seeing it as not what it's supposed to be. But the experience we got in Liberia is that this is where a country that people are, you know, energized, focused on how do we get Liberia, you know, to start performing, you know, delivering, working, peaceful. Peace was what everybody was mentioning. You know, anybody you interrogate, you interview there. Well, Mope was there, I'm sure. She can confirm some of these things I'm saying.
About to say, you are the one who is buttressing what it is that I have said. I mean, and how big a priority it was for the citizens of Liberia to have peace. I mean, when you have been through 2 civil wars, and you're yet to recover from it, no one tells you the value of peace. I think that, you know, while that can be said, what we also noticed was that we had quite a number of observer groups, and I was very pleased to see that, you know, IPAC was also in Liberia. I do not know what the thrust, because it would seem that different groups were focusing on different things in the election and the conduct of the election. But as IPAC, what would you say was your primary thrust as a group going to monitor the elections in Liberia?
Well, we went there. Our first call, of course, port of call was the NEC. You know, we had a meeting with the chairperson, who was excited, like you said,
NEC,
for seeing us.
Their own version of
their
INEC.
own version of INEC, exactly. You know, the National Electoral Commission. What we were interested in is the relationship between NEC there and the political parties. One thing we observed that is not there is that they don't have an organization like what we have here of political parties like IPAC, you know, in the form we have it. So, I'm sure as we move on from my interaction with her, is that they will perhaps have something like what we have here. What they have...
Do they need it?
They need it. Because what they have now is that it's, when they have this engagement, an issue comes up and then they summon, they invite the political parties, they sit down with them. And of course, it's chaired by the NEC, you know. So they need it, although they are a small country, but even at that, you still need to be organized in a manner. I mean, you can imagine you have 31 political parties, you know, in an election, and to manage 31 organizations, you know, definitely you need to have some kind of organized body that will be interacting with them, you know. So we noticed that the INEC there also were also interested in the process, you know. How do they handle it so that, you know, nobody gets shortchanged, you know, by way of managing the process and then delivering results, meaning that votes count end of the day. And from what we saw, biometrics is being used now, but of course they haven't gotten to the level of using things like beavers and things like that. But we in Nigeria, we will not believe this, we are still battling with the kind of problems, which is the manual process of collation, you know. And you know, that is where elections are won or lost, because like the saying, it's not those who cast the vote, but those who count the vote that really determine who wins an election. So in the kind of environment. What they have, it's still manual, you know, but accreditation, I mean, sorry, the, what do you call it, the registration of voters, you know, is still...
But theirs was still peaceful, despite that.
Yeah, because of the underlying, you know, condition, which is the underlying condition, the fact that people are keyed into the fact that they must, make Liberia work. And through what system? Through democracy. That's why everybody you talk to...
People, largely politicians.
Politicians, citizens, together.
Because over here, what we see, politicians seems to be the one who stoke all this fire. These people are fighting for politicians. They are candidates to win.
Yeah, but in Liberia, of course, as a political party, you must fight for your candidate to win.
I mean,
but
not arming thugs. That's all right.
No. I mean, not arming thugs. Political contest. Although there wasn't, we didn't see any unpleasant scene where people killed or something like that. Although I heard that there was some fracas, but it wasn't at the level like what we normally witness in this country.
So yesterday, I mean, it's an interesting thing. You said you went to see the NEC, that's the National Electoral Commission,
yes.
because you wanted to see what the engagement was like with political parties,
exactly.
And also the fact that they, maybe how they were increasing the confidence levels in the political parties and showing that they were capable of delivering on these elections. And this is highly significant, given that this is the first time they're going to be doing it all by themselves with very minimal intervention. And then when we come back home now, we begin to see a lot of stories around our own INEC and political engagement. What did The Guardian say today? I'm seeing something there. Politicians leverage Electoral Act loopholes to evade scrutiny. This is the lead story on the front page of The Guardian today. Yesterday, it had this: INEC's credibility sinks as 94% contested posts await tribunal. This is the lead story on the front page of one of the major dailies. Yeah. You have to now ask, because, I mean, as you have also said, I've attested to it, a lot of people turned out. I think at the last count, we heard that about 70% of those who were registered to vote, turned up to vote on elections day. And that figure is not doubtful, given what it is that we saw. So for you right now, given where we currently are with confidence levels in our own INEC, what do you think needs to be done? What needs to be done? Because some people are saying, look, politicians have been the biggest beneficiaries of this democracy and yet seem to be its biggest enemy by how they conduct themselves. Do you think that the people who need to be spoken to are the political class, or do you think that the problem is with the umpire, the electoral umpire?
No, I don't think the electoral umpire has much to do with what is happening to us. I think it's us, Nigerians, and in particular the National Assembly. National Assembly? Yes, because they are the ones that made the laws. You cited the case of Electoral Act that politicians are leveraging on that to evict scrutiny and things like that. Loopholes. That we have 90-something% of the cases, of
94%.
94%.
Being contested.
Yeah, being contested. Well, the issue is that the Electoral Act itself is so ambiguous in some areas, believe you me, and it was done deliberately by the National Assembly to serve their own selfish interest. There are cases you can easily... Look at what we had to go through to get even the transfer of results from the polling units to the portal automatically. I don't know if you still remember. Some of you, I think the CSOs, what have you, had to demonstrate, go to National Assembly. Why should it take that? And even when they now introduce it, they now again took it away. It's National Assembly. We must focus on the National Assembly. They are the culprits. They are the one that put us where we are. It's not INEC. INEC will only operate the law, that they have. National Assembly, like I said, we politicians too. Because we use money. There has to be a willing giver before you get a willing receiver. So if you talk about corruption and what have you, we are the ones, really making the process to be as corrupt as it is, as politicians. And the beginning with National Assembly. They deliberately put those minefields that you are talking about today, which has led to the 94% or whatever. And even that figure is not correct, really, because I think they were looking at also the issue of primaries and things like that. that got, too many. So not really the general elections themselves. Most of the cases were from the primaries. And primaries were conducted by us, not INEC. So these are the issues that we must interrogate, and we must come to terms with. Do we really want democracy to work? But in the IPAC, like I said, we are doing quite a lot, because as political parties, we are also coming up with our own election management system, results management system, so that it's not only INEC now that has, is the system that will give us the results. We may not be able to announce the winner, but we will take whatever INEC declares at the polling unit and feed it into our own system too. Technology is available. I mean, it's not something that we cannot acquire,
Interesting solutions that IPAC is thinking of. But when you realize that, the major problem is with politicians, you pointed more pointedly at the National Assembly. But we also know how this revolving door thing works. You're there today, you're out tomorrow, and then, and you've also given politicians a fair share of the blame, especially when you talk about the primary. So the question for me is, what can be done about talking to politicians? What can be done for them to see the advantage? Because if the people who seek to lead us do not show, are not patriotic enough, can they demand of their citizenry virtues that they are bereft of?
You should hold them to account, power to account. Nigerians should do that. There's no reason why we can't do that. I'm not saying burning down places or something like that. We should hold power to account. There are many ways you can do it. It's happening around us, every other country. So because you see, if you don't make laws that will give you a progressive nation, which is what we want, I'm going back to National Assembly because this is a constitutional democracy we are running, isn't it? Everything has to be referred to the law. What does the law say? We're not so dumb that we don't know that if you said, you give me this one, you take it away again, and then, that all you are asking for is confusion. That's what you have done. Like the Electoral Act we have today, like this transfer of results. Why should you say it's up to INEC to choose whatever they want? Fine, and then later you say, well, if they change it, it's okay. I mean, how more confused you want the nation to be if you do not give a straightforward, law that will give an ambiguous direction as to what to do or actions that must be taken, by the electoral umpire. We have to know where the problem is coming from, and only Nigerians can change that. It's not another person.
It's not the politicians themselves. They cannot have a frank conversation amongst themselves.
Well, unless I cannot say that I'm not one of them. But the issue here is that human nature, if you do not make a system or a situation that rewards and punish, and if I do something wrong, I'll be punished. If I do something right, I'll be rewarded. That has to be in our laws, in our system. I'm talking about. You are now going back to judiciary, who also they have to sit up too, to be counted as those who really have this country at heart. They want it to work. Judiciary must stand up, to the plate. That yes, they are really for democracy. What I'm seeing today, democracy is not supporting democracy at all. I mean, judiciary I'm talking about. With the kind of judgment, the kind of decisions, orders they are giving, it doesn't reflect people that have interest in the survival of democracy. Well, and for a good reason, for judiciary, whether it's the military, whether it's the democracy, government, they don't lose. Okay. So Nigerians must stand up and then attack, and not attack in the sense that not to burn down anybody or burn down properties or kill anybody. Hold these people to account.
You make it seem, when you talk about, I know my colleague Ayo is waiting to get in his own questions, but when you say that the judiciary doesn't lose, you make it seem like as if they are not citizens of Nigeria as well, first and foremost, before they're members of the judiciary.
You say the beneficiaries of this system is politicians, isn't it?
Okay. Isn't that correct?
That is right, but we are the casualties, the first casualties when democracy fails. although the citizens are the biggest losers. You know, but there are institutions in this country that do not lose, whether it's military or civil or democracy.
The point I'm making is that
in fact, they even get more.
If you are looking at just institutions, you must remember that the people whom power those institutions or man those institutions are first of all citizens before they are members of any institution. Isn't that correct?
Does it change citizenship if there's military or civilian administration?
Doesn't it change the environment in which we all can operate?
It changes the environment, but for some people, for only the few.
Well,
those who dictate what happens or read law to you and say that the interpretation is this, how do they get affected? I don't know. You have to tell me.
Let's go to break now. We understand that we'll be coming back and going to Lagos when we come back from this break. Please stay with us.
Thank you for staying with us. We still have Mr. Yabagi Sonny in our Abuja studio. He's chairman of the IPAC. Thank you again. Well, you know, I'd like to play a little more on one or two questions that Markwe asked you. You're chairman of the Inter-Party Advisory Council. And one of the questions my colleagues have taken you up on is the role of the political class in ensuring that our elections are as smooth as they can be. Do you think there should be a sort of system of entry into politics such that when anyone is a politician in the country, knowing that the person stands a chance of leading the country in one way or the other, whether in elective office or in appointed office, do you think there should be some kind of standards for getting into politics as a career and not just as some kind of vocation that takes anyone in?
Well, yeah, I believe so, but remember that democracy cannot be legislated. You can't legislate my inalienable freedom. Democracy is citizens' inalienable freedom. So you can't stop anybody from participating. But what can happen is that the political parties or the political class can self-regulate themselves, just like you have other organizations, associations. MBA, MDA, and all these other organizations, they have some kind of disciplinary, systems in their organization. So IPAC is also, thinking about having something like that. You must, first of all, sign up, to abide by certain do's and don'ts, as a politician. And we can do it because we can sanction people. We can stop you from participating as politicians, politically. We can resolve our issues politically. But when you now say that you have some level of education, you will be abridging somebody's constitutional rights because the Constitution says the qualification is, in fact, you don't even need school certs if you can prove that you can read and write and understand.
But on that, Mr. Yabagi, Mr. Sonny, just on that, isn't that a problem? Because before anyone gets into civil service, the basest level of, I think, maybe level 6, the person has to have a minimum of first degree, if memory serves me right. Now, someone is aspiring to supervise people who have PhDs, who have professorial certificates, and the minimum requirement for that person to get into office is a school cert, not even to pass, but to just attempt it. Don't you think that is a problem?
Well, like I said, democracy is your inalienable rights, to benefit from the, it doesn't, you should not be in any way denied as a citizen. Once you are a citizen and your people like you and they believe in you, I think you are qualified to lead.
I understand that, Mr. Sonny. I understand that. But the challenge here is the quality of person that is going to get into the office. The fact that someone is liked doesn't make the person a king or a chief in a local community. The fact that someone is famous in the civil service doesn't make the person qualify to get a job or to even get promoted in that organization. How much more
governing a country or a state, don't you think we should raise, at the very least, raise the educational standard in a way that it is more competitive as opposed to what we have now?
Well, the only competition you need is who can attract people's votes. And if the people say this is the person they like, I mean, it's like they said, if you have a fool in power, those who elected in are well represented. So if we behave like fools, we keep on having fools in power, in positions. So it's us that should.
So let me ask you that question
elect.
Pointedly. Do you think the Constitution should be reviewed to raise the minimum qualification for anyone running for office of governor or president of the country higher than the school set level?
Well, I believe that, you know, given the times we are in, given the fact that you need to have certain educational qualities, you know, I mean, some skills, perhaps, yes, you can say, yes, let's raise it to some level. But the point I'm making is that you should be wary of abridging people's, you know, constitutional rights and their human rights, and then their right to represent their people. I mean, it's up to the people, really. You know, it's not about you. It's not about you making some, you know, some boundaries for them. You know, as far as people are concerned, if they believe in this person, it's up to them. I mean, it's not yours. I mean, that's what I'm saying. You know, if people elect somebody and the person it turns out to be a fool, then they are well represented. They are fools. That's why they elected the person. So perhaps, yes, you can say qualification-wise you want to have some, but in some cases it's not about technical knowledge or things like that. It's about wisdom. It's about your interpersonal relationship with the people. How are you able to attract the confidence of the people? You know, wisdom does not necessarily come with the school certs or school certificates and things like that. No, that does not translate to wisdom. So, and in leadership, you are looking for wisdom. You are looking for people who can really represent the people properly, who people have confidence in, so that he can now be able to command their respect. There are two things here that we must understand. Okay. There's what we call authority, and there's what we call power. You can put somebody in the office that he has the authority, but he may not have the power of commanding the followership to do what he wants.
Well, wisdom has been defined as the correct application of knowledge. So knowledge is required if you are going to even apply the wisdom. But let me ask a question along the line of one of the issues we raised during the papers this morning. The Minister of Information and National Orientation has been quoted as saying that Nigerians no longer trust their government, the people that they elect into power. Excuse me. When you recruit people into office, you don't trust them. And that has been his comment for a while. And he is championing national orientation. In fact, along the line in the conversation that he had with journalists, he's talking about the fact that patriotism has gone down really low. Belief in the country has also dwindled over the years. Now, how can we transfer patriotism or a lack of it, belief in country or a lack of it, into our electoral matters in a way that, excuse me, eventually it is something functional for us all, and it follows us into our advocation, or rather our interest or advocacy for good governance and uncontested elections in the country?
Yeah, you know, you have to look at the root cause. What is responsible for people losing confidence in their leaders or in the people that have elected? It's because there's lack of delivery of dividends of democracy. We are not in the Constitution say you must ensure that you provide for the welfare and for the safety and security of the people. But how much have we done that? So this is the issue. It's the issue of people you are electing. Why are they not delivering? They are not delivering because there is high-level corruption. There is the issue of, like we are saying, the laws being ambiguous, which is by National Assembly, the lawmakers. And then, unfortunately, again, you have the law interpreters also compromised in some of the things they are doing. So how do you want, what magic do you want to perform to make people to work? You know, if you have these two institutions not working for the country, you know, there's no way anything will work. Whatever you put there cannot stand. That's why I'm saying that these two institutions, which, you know, formed the tripods that we call, you know, the government, executive, legislative, and also the judiciary. Legislative and judiciary are not working for Nigeria. They're not working for their country. There's no way the executive can work. The executive, I mean, it's a human nature. You give them such an environment, you know, they do whatever they like. That's why the drafters of the Constitution brought out these two institutions. These two institutions today cannot be said that they are working for the interest of this country. Nigerians must wake up and hold them to account. That's the point we are making.
Okay, on that.
That's why in our own situation,
yes,
we have come up with programs that will make Nigerians to begin to appreciate democracy.
Okay,
like
so how does this program of
like
yours,
centenary celebration?
Yes, all these programs that you're talking about,
yes,
how does it factor in the politician? Because in the National Assembly that you mentioned, the politicians are there,
yes,
100%, but except for, you know, technocrats, the civil service that work with them. In the judiciary are technocrats as well, who are not elected but appointed. But guess what? It is the politicians that take cases, sometimes that shouldn't go to courts, according to some of the things that lawyers have told us. Yesterday, for instance, we had two SANs saying that there is a case that shouldn't have gone to court, but guess what? That case has gone to court. So it is the politicians that take these cases to the judiciary. And the judiciary have always said, it's like the politicians are trying to make them lose face. So it goes back to the politicians who are citizens of the country, or doesn't it?
Once a politician gets punished for the case that shouldn't bring to court, that's what we call court abuse of court processes, isn't it? And it comes with certain punishments. Why don't they mete out the punishment to the person who brought the case to court? The court is the last version. I mean, that's what the common man, everybody has. So if somebody, you know, misbehaves, the lawyer should be questioned too, you know, because I as an individual cannot approach the court just on my own. I have to go through a counsel. So the counsel is supposed to know that this matter shouldn't go to court. Why can't the judiciary punish themselves? That is sanction the lawyer and then ensure that you met out, you know, the kind of the sanctions that are applied, you know, when somebody abused the process. So that's an excuse as far as I'm concerned.
So moving forward, when you say you identify some of the problems you face here, what would you suggest? Because I hear you talk about ethnicity, religion, some of these things as a challenge you face here. And then in context of the kind of democracy that we operate, what would you suggest? How do we improve things?
Well, how we improve things is that, you see, the leadership has a lot to do with it. You know, leadership has a lot to do with this. And that's why some of us are not happy with what is happening today. We are talking about these sentiments. You know, we cannot have leaders that dance to those sentiments, that their actions are seen by Nigerians as being tribalistic or being ethnic or regional in action. Like the appointments that President Tinubu has done. That is not a Nigerian actions that we required. That even the Yorubas are becoming embarrassed.
Which appointments?
Appointments for people to positions in government. We say we condemn Buhari for doing nepotism and what have you, and we have a worst case scenario now. And we want to build a nation.
How is it worse?
It's worse because it's worse because you have, you know, most of the choicy positions are all, you know, people from Southwest or Yorubas. We said that about Buhari. We were not happy when Buhari was doing it. Even Northerners were complaining. And what did we get? Nothing. The government could not operate because people were saying that, well, it's their government, let them do it. The rank and file will not, they will just say, yes, sir, yes, sir. But nothing gets done because they don't feel connected. Nigeria is a country that you must take into cognizance certain fundamentals that are there.
So, should we then leave it to the leaders? Because tomorrow, if somebody else is appointed chances are that they'll do the same thing. And if they do
That's
the
the
same
point
thing,
I'm making.
people from their region, whether it's from the north, from the south,
our regret as politicians, especially the IPAC, is that we expected the present president, to demonstrate a full
so I'm asking
Democrat, which he is.
I'm asking.
But who dropped the ball? Where did we get it wrong?
Having identified those issues,
yes,
you say we blame the politicians.
Yes.
So should we leave it then to the politicians to fix it? How do we fix it? Because it's not for lack of laws. We have those laws there.
Yes.
The federal character principle is there.
Yes.
And we saw in time past how they were flagrantly violated.
Yes.
So what then do we do?
What we do is to do what we are doing now.
What we're doing now, which you complain about?
Yes, we complain and then tell the person that what you are... Okay, how else do you do it? You have said that the laws are there, isn't it? Enforcement of the law. And some of the laws are not, such that you can even do anything about, because it is at the whims and caprices or at the pleasure of, for instance, Mr. President. It's at the pleasure of Mr. President to appoint who he wants to appoint, to where he wants to appoint them.
Okay,
but the nation, people are complaining that it doesn't carry the portrait of this country.
We need to wrap up. So do you think that part of the steps we should take moving forward is to remove religion from national affairs? Let it be people's private business. Don't fund any key stuff about religion. Don't bring it out and rub it in people's faces, something like that. But all religions, but make sure it's in the private. It's not in that. It doesn't take, at least, overemphasize it in public circles. Because if that then keeps happening, are we going to get a different result?
No. You see, the question is this.
No?
I mean, these are not.
You said no because you said politics, ethnicity, religion.
Yeah, but these are not things that you can remove. They are part of us. We are what we are.
I'm not saying they shouldn't be part of us. I say they're part of us when we practice it privately. But when you come to the public space,
So which law? Which law do you want to use? There's no law that says that the Constitution has given Mr. President the rights to appoint anybody he wants to. All he says is that take somebody from each state, as far as the ministers are concerned. He has done that. But you know that it's not just being government, it's being where. How do you impact? How do you reflect that, we are part and parcel of this system? That I'm also carried along, that I'm also loved, that I'm also, I'm getting the same leverages and everything that any other person is getting. That is a missing link, and that's what we must provide. And the only person can do it, I don't know who else can do it better than President Tinubu, who has lived all his life as a Democrat.
All right, I say questions about National Hajj Commission, but look, we're out of time. Maybe our next focus might see what we think about all of these things. But we thank you for coming on. Yabagi Sani is the National Chairman, Inter-Party Advisory Council, IPAC, National Chairman, ADP. He was also in Liberia to observe the election, so he was sharing his experience and what he thinks we might do moving forward. We'll have another shot at what we should do to correct things, to have a better society when we come back from this break, and we'll take that on from Lagos as well. Don't go away.